G'day, mate. Welcome to Friday Facts 304, and I've got a good old Mojo with me. Hey, mate.
Hello.
This one's all about bugs. Small bugs, big changes.
Oh, yeah.
And there is some interesting changes in this one. So,
Very interesting.
they're down to 28 bugs from 55, plus whatever bugs they made in the last week, and then they've already fixed. So,
What's wrong with chain signals today?
no, actually, I know there was a few with the Factorio event. There was issues with, I don't know, 2 larger packets in Archon and all sorts of things. I don't know. I'm not the bugs department. I don't fix things. I break things, and then somebody else works out what I did wrong and passes the details on to the devs.
Yes.
But yeah, they're basically running out of bugs. So they're doing some of the ones that they've put off in the past for small reasons, big reasons, hard to track down reasons, our seating hadn't got bored enough yet, those sorts of things.
Such little things.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things covered this week, which is interesting, and they're all like, a lot of them are just 1 or 2 lines, which is really, really nice and really, really different. So, first off, we've got the G2 update. G2 update got back to them. They've asked whether they can get a third party to audit their books to confirm the chargebacks, and Wib said sure. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, we'll get back to you as soon as... We'll just find someone and we'll get back to you.
Look,
Don't call us, we'll call you.
Yeah, look, I read the article and they were like, the first 3 devs that contact us will pay the auditing fees. Every one after that will split the auditing fees 50-50. And they did say that they had like $6,000 worth of chargebacks from memory total. And I have a feeling an audit's going to cost more than that, but sure. We'll see what happens. So, we've got Rail Planner of Obstacle Avoidance. So, in the past, and we covered this in the Friday Facts where they changed over the logic, where you'd hold down Shift to place a ghost blueprint, and it would path around cliffs and trees and all that sort of stuff over a longer distance. Over a shorter distance, it would just run straight through everything. And when they changed things over, they removed that feature of avoiding obstacles, which meant that I've had it happen to me where I'd use the Ghost Planner and it decided to go through a cliff rather than around a cliff, except I hadn't unlocked the tech for cliff explosives.
Which is mildly inconvenient.
Yeah, a little bit.
I've actually had that happen many times, and it's more than a little bit annoying.
Oh, that'll through a forest, like right through the middle of the forest.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't have grenades on me. And I'm not hand chopping this shit. Normally, just go around it. Go around it. We'll make the straight lines nice and straight after the fact. But for now, I'm laying shit manually. I want to lay shit manually as quickly and easily as possible. So they're actually bringing back the obstacle avoidance by holding control. We'll make it use the obstacle avoidance ghost planning.
Yeah.
Which means, unless like you've seen somebody do it on a Twitch stream or on YouTube and you ask the question, chance of people, or new players especially, or even people upgrading that are still playing in 16 and upgrading to 17, of knowing about this feature is slim to none.
Very likely.
There's lots of features like that just people don't know about. So, yeah, I'm waiting for the new player experience and seeing whether they cover all these sorts of little quirks of Factorio, I guess. So on to the next one, we have the multiplayer server description, and I love this. Dear server owners, the server description field is being enlarged from 120 to 5,000 characters, and now loads immediately. As soon as the next release is out, you may stop abusing the tags field for your colourful descriptions. Yeah, I love it.
Yep.
The tags field is absolutely useless, to be honest.
If you've seen
I have
the server list lately, it's just horrific.
I have. It's funny, like, it's like, oh, that's really cool. When a few started doing it, I'm like, I really want to learn how to do that and do it myself. And then it's just become like a real shitstorm of like, how many colourful crap can we put into the tags field, which actually reads as a description. Do
you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of clip art.
Ooh. Clip art, or going as far as back as ASCII art?
No, not ASCII art. But you remember when clip art and templates became a thing in documents? It's making myself look old now.
I know you are. I know you are. This is why I'm letting you run down the rabbit hole. Yeah, look.
You're just avoiding it.
Yeah, look. I remember when was it Office 97 or Office 2000?
Ah.
It must have been 2000 came out, and they included the clip art as part of Office, and literally every document you saw would have some little picture pulled straight from clip art, and it would be like, oh boy, I've seen that whatever it was for the 500th time, and it's just.
I think that's Office 95 actually, when they integrated the whole thing. No, it was things like Office 6. Oh, it's not really Office 6. It was sort of still. It was a collection of separate packages back then. I think it was Office 95 was when they first amalgamated it all. I think.
No, there wasn't a 95. There was Windows 95 and there was Office 97, and they had 2000.
Yeah, it was Office 95.
No, there wasn't.
Yeah.
There's going to be this argument will continue after the video's done. Please, in the description, tell me I'm right. I know it's Office 97. I sold Office 97. I didn't sell 95. 95 didn't exist. But before that, it was Word 95, I want to say, as a standalone package. And maybe Excel.
Might have been a standalone. All of those packages might have been sold separately as 95.
And then Office 97 was a complete package, which included Office Basic and Office Premium. Yeah, whatever. I'm now proving how old I am. Anyway.
Got you.
On to oil processing changes. So, this one's interesting. So, they've decided to change basic oil processing recipe so it only outputs petroleum gas. Which you might think is a good idea, but we'll continue. Normally, the recipe would mean all three outputs would be petroleum gas, but we add a feature so the recipe can specify a specific fuel box to use. We also use the same system, so the future water input for advanced oil processing is closed. And they've got this picture here. Now, the first time I read it, it looked like there was a recipe that you could set for petroleum, so you could actually choose which fluid box you wanted the petroleum to come out. But now I'm reading it a second time, it looks like there's just it's just that's oil, that's petroleum, bad like everything else, it's just dead pipes. So I'm not sure. But yeah, now your basic oil does not give you light, does not give you heavy.
Yeah, it just gives you gas.
Just gives you gas, which means your chemical science pack is going to have to make solid fuel from gas, which is fairly costly and wasteful. Just putting that out there. To combat all this, they believe it makes oil a little bit less of a difficulty spike, which I agree with. Also means you no longer remember which side of the water goes in, and the side water went in was really, really easy. Oil went in one side, the black side was the petroleum side, where the black oil went in, the water was the other side. Simple.
Oil over light, and then you're doing it right.
Oil over light?
Oil goes in opposite the petroleum.
Yeah, okay, yeah. The black goes with the black. That's what I keep telling everybody, and everybody keeps yelling at me. So it means, there's no light oil, and it means worker robot, which require lubricant made from heavy oil, are no longer available until you get advanced
it basically
oil.
pushed the bots back because you're missing the advanced process.
So their solution was to move the worker robots behind Chemical Science Pack. This change does delay how quickly you get worker robots, but the difference should be not too drastic, as you already need to set up the refinery, the red circuits, engines, electric engines. So you had most of the Science Pack done already, which technically they're right. But you didn't need advanced oil processing. So in a speed run, speedrunners don't use advanced oil. They just do basic.
Yeah, they do basic anyway.
Yeah, so it now means that you force people like speedrunners and people who are just trying to rush to one item, which is not only speedrunners, have to get advanced oil processing, and then are going to have to set up some sort of way to, like, they're still going to have to burn off the light oil and turn the heavy into lube, and then crack whatever's left over into light to turn into solid to then make a rocket. So the other change is they got basic oil processing now produces 24 4% more petroleum gas to offset the loss of light and heavy oil for solid fuel. And chemical science packs now require less science packs to research them. So less blue packs needed overall. And I got one more note down here. We prefer to keep the flamethrower as is, but the flamethrower ammo now requires petroleum gas instead of light and heavy, which they've already changed their mind on. And I've lost it. I had the Reddit post. I've lost the Reddit post.
One job.
I have the Reddit post. So V has already said, good point. The flamethrower is now going to use oil. Done.
Which is consistent with the flamethrower turrets
Yeah,
as
it is.
well.
It is. So that's going to be the changes for that one. Now, I've already had my Discord explode, and people are like, well, it's fine. For all your petroleum needs, you're just going to use basic oil. You're not going to bother with advanced oil for your red circuits or for like half the things in the mega base. You're just going to use basic oil and basically accept the losses. And
a lot of people have already been doing calculations on this, and it looks to be the way to go.
Well, I'm still on the fence because, like, before we started, I looked up the wiki and I looked up the numbers for basic oil and advanced oil. And basic oil currently gives you 40 petroleum. They're going to increase it by 25%. That brings it up to 50. Advanced oil gives you 55 plus 10 heavy and 45 light. And I worked out the maths in one of these calculators here. One of these calculators. Yep. And I think I came up with 10 refineries with advanced oil, like no beacons, no nothing, uses or produces 900 petroleum per second. Yeah, that was the number I came up with. Compared to heavy oil did 200. Which was... basic oil processing did 200. Which is a very, very large difference. Now, like, I admit all the numbers might change with beacons and modules and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's something I need to sit down and work out still.
Yeah, I'm just... That's a massive difference.
I have a feeling even though it's massively inefficient, like chronically inefficient, you're still getting ahead in terms of UPS because you're saving on all those.
It is that UPS saving. Because you've got to remember, on a normal chemical plant, you have... So the petroleum and the oil, you can't do anything about. They're stock standard. You do have a water input. Now, I use one of the mods that lets me dig water. So I'm using one water pump for one oil refinery to cut down on pipes and overall fluid boxes. But you still have all the pipes for light oil and heavy oil, which add up.
They do.
Really, 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 really add up. Like, no matter what, even if you're using a one, like, your heavy's hard up against the chem plant and your light oil's two tiles away, you know, that's 3 pipes for your heavy, that's 4 pipes for your light for every single refinery. And I've got 35 refineries, which is a lot of pipes. Plus, then I need to take my heavy and take my light and then crack it. The heavy I've got no use for. The light, at least I'm using it for rocket fuel, and for a lot of my light actually gets converted into petroleum as well. So, yeah, it really adds up. And from a UPS point, maybe, but then you got to put in the offset of, hang on, that means you need more oil, which is going to be more pump jacks, which is going to be more pipes. I'm not sure if there's a saving or a losing here.
I reckon there's potential. It need to get the actual when it's released and try it out. Figure out what happens.
And then do it on a couple of different worlds and actually benchmark them and get the raw numbers and then see what happens there.
Yeah.
So, on to the next one. We've got laser turret got moved down to chemical science. Or up to chemical science.
Further down the tree.
I thought laser turrets only needed military.
They did. They used to only need red, green, and military.
So they got up the tree, so they're actually harder to get now.
Yeah. I wonder if this is to really help push along push along the alternatives, because you get military when you unlock military, you get flamethrower turrets. That's the one I was trying to think of. I was trying to stall to try and remember it. You get both at the same time.
Do you?
Yeah,
So you get
more or
turrets.
less.
Turrets, which is a red tech. And then... No. So flamethrower is a military. And laser turrets is a military as well. So they've actually made lasers harder to get now because now they're in blue science. Which also means laser turret shooting speed 1 and 2 have also been moved to blue science. Because they were both just military researchers. Same with energy weapons damage 1, 2, and 3 were just military research. They've also been moved up to blue science. So, yeah.
It's a bit rough.
Yeah. So, you don't get robots until you get blue science. And most of blue science done. Because now you need advanced oil processing to make lube. To make electric engines. To make worker robots. And you don't get laser turrets till the same sort of time. You don't need lube, you need sulfuric acid for batteries. But, you know, yeah. So, yeah. Lasers are harder to get. Good luck, guys.
Gonna need it.
There's more laser stuff coming. So, laser turret shooting speed fixed. So, there was a bug with laser turrets where the shooting speed upgrade didn't actually increase their firing rate since we switched them to beam weapons. Bacillo fixed it so that more turret shooting speed actually results in more damage per second, not just for laser turrets, but for personal laser defense too. So here's your... So we've taken your lasers and we've taken them away from you, moved them up the tree, but here's a buff. But now that shooting speed bonus works properly, we then nerfed it with decreasing the base shooting speed of laser turret and personal laser defenses by 50%. So they're now worse when you get them.
Hooray! They're already pretty terrible when you first get them anyway.
Yeah. And with all the upgrades, the shooting speed will be 160% of what it used to be. Now, I'm wondering if that's what it used to be according to the paper or according to what it was yesterday. Because that's not very clear. According to paper, that sounds great. But if it's according to what it was yesterday, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we had a 10, a 20. I'm just literally looking down the tech tree now. 10, 20, 30, so that's 60%, 90%, 130, 270, 320, I think. I think if my maths is right. So laser turret shooting speed gives you up like 270% of normal base shooting speed. So I'm guessing it's 160% of what it is now meant to be. I don't know. We're gonna find out Monday because this is all written up. It's not released.
It's all coming soon though.
Yep, Monday. Which is our Tuesday because we live in the future. Anyway,
yes.
As a result of this bug fix, we decided to change the initial damage of the personal laser defense from 40 to 30. Which is, I think, what it was prior to 17 being released. Because they increased it, or they buffed it for 17, and now I think they've nerfed it back to what it was with 16. So, yeah. And however, with full shooting speed, technology's DPS is much higher with the cost of more energy. So, personal laser defense, which tanks were good and then got nerfed in the ground and replaced by personal laser defense, which got buffed, which were now awesome, which might have just been nerfed into the ground as well. Fight the engineering way with artillery from a distance. Yep.
Yes.
That's my answer. So then we got the laser beam glow, because we're not done with lasers just yet.
Of course not.
So Only Me released the glowing laser beams mod that makes laser beams illuminate the ground under them. Your turn, Mojo.
Vaclav?
Vaclav?
Yeah, that's V459.
Yep.
3 something something something.
V requested this to be part of the base game feature, but there's a catch. Beam graphics didn't tile properly. Now, if we go back to... So this is Friday FX 304. This was only happened in Friday FX 298, and we both said at the time that they look a lot better, but they should have some sort of reflective glow, something underneath them. And that's literally what they added. But there were a couple of catches. So the beam graphics didn't tile properly. They're aware of the beam graphics not tiling correctly. But V's workaround was by decreasing the intensity of glow on the sprite edge to make the overlapping almost invisible. And it's like, I admit, I wouldn't see this. I'd see it a little bit in the laser beam as it like moved tile to tile, but the bit in the background, I wouldn't see that. And my lasers are never on that long. Everything's dead quickly, especially if they actually buffed it to 160% of normal DPS of what I had, what I do have, what I've promised to have. I don't know. If my DPS has been buffed, I'm going to see them even less.
Yeah, if they're anything like mine, you're never gonna see much of them.
No, they're not like yours, but they're getting there slowly. So V had to go through the code, and he went down a rabbit hole. Basically, this is where all this text leads to is he went down a rabbit hole. He realized that they calculated the exact position of the beam, but then handed over the drawing function, which used 8 bits for a fractional part. Because of this, the edges of the tile didn't align properly, and sometimes they created a gap or overlap to cover the gaps. The sprites were. They used to have gaps, so to fix that, they overscaled them by 1%, which resulted in them overlapping even more. Originally, Electronic Beam was made back in 2015, and it did not create any sort of visibility issues. So he went and fixed that. He went and undid a fix basically from 2015 after reading a lot on what GPS do and how they do it and all that sort of fun stuff, and still had the problem. Because that wasn't actually the problem. It's just what he assumed the problem was. So after doing all that, he then moved on to a different issue, what he thought it was. So he changed how the head and the tails of the sprite are drawn. No, hang on.
It's getting into complicated stuff. Triangle rasterization works on GPUs. Head and tails.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah. So he thought he had a new problem with the head of the sprite was blinary filtered, and the tail of the sprite was some other type of filtering on... trilinearly filtered.
Linear filtering.
Yeah, words.
Linear filtering. There it is. I've lost my place and I was trying to find it.
Yeah. So he changed how the head and tail sprites are drawn in order for them to always share an edge with body sprites, and that fixed the issue. As a bonus, we're able to turn on the trilinear filtering for the beam sprites. We didn't use it before because it was making tiling issues even worse.
It's actually a good thing. Getting trilinear filtering is kind of a pretty fundamental thing to go with graphics.
I have no idea. It's all mumbo jumbo, pretty stuff for me. Yeah,
stuff.
Stuff.
Things.
Yeah.
It's like turning on transform and light, even though that was like a hardware thing. But I don't think that even exists anymore.
Yeah, he went down a rabbit hole, which spent a lot of time, worked out that wasn't a problem, fixed the problem, and it turns out it was caused by texture filtering anyway, so he went and fixed that problem. That's what happens when you've only got 28 bugs to play with.
Yeah, you get bored.
So this is the original picture from Friday FX 298, and that's the new picture.
Yeah. So you got some actual background glow now.
Yeah, some actual background glow. Like I said, the only thing it needs, and I said this last time, is it needs some sort of reflection off the shiny biter onto the ground around him. That's the only thing it needs.
So much difference, and now look at it.
It's that one last thing it needs. It just biters look shiny. So obviously there'd be some sort of reflection off their scales, their shells, whatever, onto the ground.
The trilinear filtering is doing its thing because the beam's nowhere near as pixelated.
Yeah, and there's no little dashes and whatever they call it through the beam.
Yeah, that
Tiling,
thing.
lack of tiling, overlapping. Yeah, all that sort of fun stuff.
The scaling issues.
Yeah. But the one
Moving
thing
on.
I've
Inserters.
noticed is the electric beams.
Huh?
The electric beams from
They're a
the
little bit
destroyer
fuzzier.
robots. Yeah, like technically it's two different images. Between Friday Facts, 298 and 304, they've actually got two slightly different images. I just assumed that they'd freeze the game at this point and then had it rendered one way and they have it rendered the other way.
Nah, I'm pretty sure it's...
I'm pretty sure it's like before an attack, they've recorded a video and then they've just chosen roughly the same frame from both of them. That's what I'm assuming. But yeah, look, the electric beams, I'm not sure if they've got some sort of this beam shine on the ground or not, but I don't know.
I'm inclined to say it's pre-rendered.
I don't know. You reckon this has nothing to do with the Factorio engine at all?
I'm suspicious that it's pre-rendered.
I don't know. I went back to the 298 blog post and then compared it to the 304 blog post, and I didn't realize in the original time, but I did after swapping the images back and forth, there's actually a slight difference in the biters back on 298 between the left hand panel and the right hand panel, and now we're looking at the right hand panel, or the one in 304. Both panels are exactly the same. The biters are in the exact same position.
Yeah, they are.
Have lost the exact same amount of hit points.
Health.
So yeah. So
That's why I think it's pre-rendered.
well, like I said, not sure. And then we move on to the last one. I think we're on the last one.
Yep, this is the last thing. Inserters being stuck.
Inserters getting stuck. Now, when Twinson did the improvements back in 1750, I have to say that's like a week.
Which was 2 days ago? 3 days ago? I don't know.
I think it was like a week and a half ago, but like that is almost 6 or 7 versions ago already. So we upgraded the inserters, made them faster by removing what I thought was the pointless pauses where the inserter would do nothing in one tick for some situations. But after that was released, we had this inserter get stuck reaching over the back of a red underground forever, where it would never ever pick up. And it's been marked as a new bug for 1750, but I remember this happening in the past.
Yeah, it used to happen all the time anyway, so I'm not quite... I think it used to succeed when... Well, this is a red belt too, which it never used to fail on a red belt. It's always only ever failed on a blue belt, and only when it wasn't compressed. Otherwise, it generally... Oh, actually, it is a slow inserter, so maybe that was the case.
I remember this happening with stack inserters.
Like stack inserters had that problem too. Yeah, it was particularly prevalent with blue belt. I do remember it was a constant.
It was just a standard rule that if you could avoid it, never ever have a stack inserter reach over the back of an underground.
Yeah, for specifically that reason.
Because
even though I did it all the time.
Sometimes
was entirely based off it.
Yeah, like sometimes you had to, sometimes you couldn't avoid it. But it was. I just put it down to like there is less hitbox for that stack inserter to pick up from, so there is a better chance it's going to get stuck. And if it gets stuck like this, it never got unstuck with the stack inserter. Not until you had a gap on the belt. So if you had a string of green circuits picking up like iron to make green circuits, it'd be the third one, the second and the third and the fourth or whatever down the belt would run forever. But that first guy, if he got stuck like this, he would never get unstuck. Ever. Not until I think it went away with a save and a reload.
Not necessarily.
But if you ever had a gap, any sort of gap in your supply down that belt, that would unstick it. Because that'll pick you up the inserter and putting it back down. Anyway, so Twinson fixed a bug, what he thought was a bug, which was probably we had a bug like this in the past, and somebody hadn't commented in the code. So
probably, yeah.
Yeah, it was probably there for a reason. So inserter would get stuck because the item was on the belt was moving too fast. It would overshoot the inserter head, and if it were timed in a specific way, it would happen indefinitely. So it didn't happen prior to 1715 because the inserter would pause for 1 tick after failing to pick up the item, breaking the timing loop. It also meant the inserter would potentially wait up for 10 ticks during one swing, since the inserter tracks each item moving on the belt through its entire movement. So his final solution was to pause for 1 tick after failing to pick up an item, because anything else would have added some sort of performance cost to the Factorio engine for inserters or belts. Both would be bad. Yeah, both would be bad options. So, it's like a simple, like, if everything fails, if the inserter head is over the top of a belt and you can't pick up for some reason, just pause for 1 tick and then continue. Which was, like, sort of the best compromise he could come up with.
As good as you can get.
Yeah, look, it means technically everything's faster than it was in 1749, and hopefully this bug is fixed and we'll never see it again. If not, next week we'll go up to 29 bug reports. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this Friday Facts. They're really running out of things to do, and that's the big thing I'm reading in this one. We're running out of things to fix. So we're looking at some things we've put off, like the chemical plants and
I think the oil change, the basic oil production change is really the highlight. It's a big change.
It is a big change, but it's also rearranged the tech tree, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. Like, getting robots is such a big thing. And the fact that you could get to Blue Science, and literally I get to Blue Science and be like, okay, I'm going to do advanced oil processing eventually. But
I think with 17 changing Blue Science to requiring solid fuel did change up things a lot, because it really motivated you to use the basic cracking for solid fuel, which you could use for science and power. That actually opened up using it for power.
Yeah,
which wasn't a thing previously.
It meant you had to make solid fuel. And because you got solid fuel there, you'd be like, okay, I can feed that solid fuel into my steam engines and into my smelting block. So you would. And you'd feed it into science first. It's like, if there's anything left over, we're going to feed it off, and we're not going to use coal for a moment because your starting coal's probably running out or has run out. And we're going to feed it into the smelters and the power. So you now had a use for your light and your heavy oil, which prior to that you didn't. But you still had a petroleum shortage. So normally you'd end up getting advanced oil to make cracking, to process more of the heavy and the light into petroleum to make red circuits faster and that sort of stuff, to sort of jump and leapfrog your way through the tech, along with, at the same time, like, engines are pretty easy to set up. They're not really hard.
They're not difficult at all.
Admittedly,
it's the problem I think they're really trying to address is dealing with just having all of these oil. It's kind of complicated because you got to deal with 3 fluids instantly. You got to bring in oil, then you got to deal with the lights, the gas, and the heavy oil. Either by tanks or by something, and it's a lot of infrastructure to potentially build.
You've got to deal with a lot of different outputs, and you're right. Like, red science is easy, green science is easy. Military is not that complicated.
Not anymore, no.
When you get into chemical science, it really is a lot more complicated. But it's also that big power jump, because you do get, like, you get red circuits, and like we all know a red circuit build. They're just massive because of the slow crafting speed.
Yeah, they're ridiculous.
But it also meant that when you get robots, because you get robots like after getting 1 or 2 red circuit builds up and running, that when you need to duplicate it, you need red circuits to make roboports. You'd steal some off the line, you'd make a roboport or 2. Even if you had 10 construction robots, you just put all this stuff in a chest and say, guys, duplicate the red circuit build because I've got plastic, I've got green circuits. I just need more assemblers to make it go faster. And that's really what it came down to. And now, like, that's been pushed a little bit further away. I don't know how I feel. I really, really don't. I guess.
Yeah, we'll see what comes with it. When we get access to it, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it is going to be a UPS saving. I think I agree with you there. I think being able to make just pure petroleum, but I'm also worried that I'm going to see a lot more people play their way through the whole Factorio game, having a basic oil plant that just did petroleum, and then having one refinery, just one, that did advanced, that's going to crack the light into petroleum because they know how to use petroleum, and it's going to use the heavy to make lubricant. That's it.
The alternative is actually to use coal liquefaction to make the lubricant.
Yeah, I looked at the numbers of that as well, and you get a lot of heavy, and the heavy can be converted to light, but you don't get enough petroleum. There is no point, and that's the thing with coal liquefaction. The liquefaction. There is no point for doing coal in a mega base scale, and it's really only good for getting lots and lots of lube. But you need that for blue belts. That's really what it comes down to. You don't need it for robots. You don't need it for like any of the sciences in vast quantities. It's only when you go blue belts that you need a crap ton of lube.
You really need it.
Yeah. And that's the other thing. Like, you're going to see bases where people tank up a whole bunch of lube because they've been to blue belts before, and they just never had enough lube to make enough blue belts. So they're just going to have like these arrays of 10 tanks that they're just going to slowly fill up with lube. So when they get to blue belt, they have enough to make blue belt.
Funny, actually, because you reminded me, I do remember a base where they had like 1 million lubricants stored up. Just because. No other reason. Than just...
Because the machine was backed up, so we just add another tank. And the machine was backed up, so we add another tank. Like, it's backed up. You don't need any more tanks. You've probably got enough.
This wasn't just because it was backed up. This was just for lols, really.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It was still funny, though.
Oh, look, blueprint it and double it then for lols. I'm really worried that we're going to see bad habits, I guess is probably the best way of putting it. Bad habits that, because players are learnt one way, they're not going to learn anything. They're not going to learn how to use advanced oil.
You mean it's going to be any worse than what you see on the gridlock servers, where the old... I thought I'd seen the end of that... what is it? The mangled pork? Red circuit build?
No, fish sandwich. Fish
sandwich, that's the one.
Yep.
Fish sandwich. I had not seen those in a long time. That's the first time I've seen one in a long time. And a lot of stuff from 14 as well.
Unfortunately, I still see them all the time. I see them on Twitch, where somebody's got a blueprint of Factorio prints to make red circuits, and it's pretty and it's symmetrical. And if you
got
guys,
bots, it's fine. If you want to build it manually, screw that.
If you guys are curious, it is one copper machine in the middle with 8 red circuit machines offset all the way around that copper machine, which directs insert. Which sounds great.
Yes, 8, not 6. 8.
Oh, look, it sounds great. And originally when it was made, red circuits took 8 seconds to craft. So it was perfectly in ratio, and it was a really, really, really good build. Except...
If a pain in the butt to build.
Well, it was a very compact build. That's true. It was a very neat build because it made them square objects rather than long objects. So it had lots of pros with it. But now, because the ratio has changed, you have 2 machines that are basically stalled at all times doing nothing.
Yep.
And people can chop the blueprint down very, very easily to make it fit 6. But people don't know any better. They found a blueprint, they like it, they've been told it works, and they don't know any better. And I think that's one of the things really with Factorio, where I like, even installing these crazy mods, I like learning that the different recipes and things and how to do stuff better. And I'm worried, and it's one of those things, I'm worried that with basic oil, people are not going to learn how to do any better. They're just going to go, basic oil, I'm done, good, dusted, especially with people running a straight oil pipe through all their refineries, and then they're not going to be able to change the recipe on.
Yeah, the thing's going to give an error, and they're never going to know why.
Yeah. Yeah, until
They're
they
not
get
gonna
to.
tear up the pipe.
If they try that last refinery, that maybe they only hooked up the pipe on one side.
Assuming it's on the right hand end.
Assuming
I think it is.
assuming it's the far right, like oil refinery, and the oil comes in from the left. Maybe. Look, I watched a Twitch streamer. It was probably about a month ago, who literally spent an hour and a half, if not longer. By all means, I know a couple of my viewers were watching as well, because this guy spent hours unable to get heavy oil, advanced oil processing running.
Oh, yeah, because he had fed oil into both.
Yep, he just ran one long pipe, and the game didn't give any sort of warning. And I believe, I'm positive it was clipped multiple times and sent to the devs. And yeah, it's just, I don't know. I guess oil's a sensitive topic. All right, I'm done.
It is.
Yep.
I think rant's over.
Yep.
Get out of here.
Yep. Thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next week for another rant. Bye.